Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Madness University. This is LZ, and I am here with Nick. And today, our topic is hobby etiquette. So, this could be for anybody who's just getting into the hobby, kind of the do's and don'ts of the hobby, mistakes you don't want to make, especially dealing with people. Or it could be a smack in the face for people who have been in the hobby for quite some time and maybe gotten comfortable with doing things a certain way. But these are just some of the hobby kind of etiquette actions that we see people taking, and the things that we see people doing that we appreciate and makes you feel good. It's almost like some of that customer service that you want to see. So, Nick, you're going to kick it off.
Mhm.
What are some of the hobby etiquette topics you want to discuss today?
Feel like we need some tea time music or something like that. Like me and you were sitting around having some tea, holding it like this, and we're
Yeah,
gonna
with our
talk about
pinkies in the air.
we're gonna talk about etiquette today.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's crazy. When I got back into the hobby, I didn't realize how much networking was required to kind of like get things done. And when I say get things done, find the cards you want to find, complete the sets you want to complete, make deals that you otherwise would have no access to. And I've found that the people that tend to burn are the people that fizzle out pretty fast and kind of leave the hobby. And then the people that do well are the ones that they default to helping, right? So those are some of the best people.
Mhm.
So I think this is almost like the golden rule, of advice here. And I just think of like the deals I've done on Facebook and in person, you know, don't one big one is not sniping. And sniping, you're probably thinking about eBay and all of that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you're in like a group that talks about cards online and somebody posts something and they're like, what's this worth? Or, whatever. And somebody's really interested in it. Don't go like DMing that person and being like, I want it, whatever he offers, I'll give you $1 more, or something like that.
Mhm.
Don't try to sneak that person. Oh, that card's crap, but I'll take care of it for you. Just like, just do the right thing. I've seen that so many times and it'll pay off in the long run because people will give you deals. I mean, if it's like the last card you're going to need on planet Earth, then maybe you're allowed to say, sorry, I'm going to snipe this or something like that. And I'm going to pay more than any of you guys. But at least then you're being honest and
Mhm.
open and not worrying about it. So that's a really important one. I think like the other thing is don't play people against each other. There's nothing worse. So this happens to me. This is very difficult for me all the time because I'm into some areas of the hobby that are pretty niche, right? So 1969, 1986. What will happen, this happens to me 3 times a week, and I call LZ like, like so. I'm so stressed out when it happens. But like I'll have the person doing the deal, like receiving the card, call me and say, "How much should I be buying this card for?" And then 10 minutes later, I'll have the person selling that card DM
Oh,
me and
yeah.
say, "How much should I be selling that?" This literally happened 4 days ago, and they're both good friends of mine. And it's like, oh man. So I have to sit there and be like, this is what I think is fair. And I just like, leave me alone. I'm just the connector.
Mhm.
But the way that could go wrong, the flip side of that, like the Darth Vader side of that, is if you're selling a card and you try to like play people against each other. Steve wants that card and Jim wants that card, right? And so you're like, hey, Jim, Steve wants that. Steve's going to pay this. Steve didn't say that. And then, it's prisoner's dilemma, right? You got two people and you're trying to play them. Don't do that because eventually Jim and Steve are going to talk if they don't talk already. And then they're going to talk about you. And then they're going to say, whoa, wait a second. You're saying I paid $200 more for that card because Nick was playing a game? Just don't do it. You almost have to pretend every transaction you do is like on national TV. That's kind of how I approach them.
Mm.
I assume that my text chat is going to get shared online. I assume that the government's going to see it. I assume everything because that way I won't get sued. The government won't, the IRS won't come after me. I'm just honest and open, and it's the only way to be. And that's the only way I can keep friends when this happens every week. So that's I don't know. That's my hobby brown rules or golden rules or etiquette or whatever you want to call it.
That's a good rule around just assume, especially anything you're doing digital, especially in text, you have to assume. I mean, I teach my kids that anything you write down, you have to assume is being shared. All right. So for me, I don't know if people have heard this phrase before, but you can tell a lot about someone by the way they treat wait staff, by the
Mhm.
way you treat waiters and waitresses at a restaurant. You can tell a lot about a person by that.
That's great
And
life advice, LZ.
where I'm going with that is just be polite. All right. When you're at a card show, and this goes both sides of the table, for the seller, have some customer service. Don't be sitting there on your phone while people are approaching your table with a grumpy attitude. And on the other side, for the buyer, go up, be polite, try to strike up a conversation. You're more apt to get a deal done if both sides are being polite and respectful to one another.
So true.
So, to Nick's point around assume someone's watching you and there's a camera on you at all time, assume that same thing when you're going up to a table or going into a hobby store. Because I'm big into that, watching how people treat wait staff and what have you. So that's number one. Number two is own up to your mistakes.
Mm.
You're gonna do deals where you're going to make a mistake. You're gonna claim this autograph is authentic. I guarantee it. And you have to stand by that, because if that person goes and authenticates it and it gets rejected and they come back to you, you can't all of a sudden dodge them. Just own up to it. Either refund their money if that's maybe you can do a different trade. So keep that in mind. And I actually have a really cool story. I recently went to a card show and I made a purchase on a very rare autograph card. It's from the 1986 set. And I was dealing with an old school dealer. And the autograph itself looked a little different than everything I've seen with this player. And I just looked him in the eyes and I said, I'll do this deal with you, but on one condition. Do you mind if I go in the other room, I bring this card to JSA and have them do a quick authentication for me? And he looked me dead in the eyes and he said, absolutely. It's like, you can 100% do that.
Wow.
And we
That's awesome.
exchanged cash, and I gave him cash and he looked me in the eyes and goes, Larry, I'm going to take your cash. I'm going to put it in the top pocket of my dress shirt so I know that this is your money. You go do your thing at JSA and come back. And the great part of the story is took it to JSA. Shout out to them. They did a turnaround time in like less than an hour for
I
me
love
at the
having them at
show.
shows. It's amazing.
Oh, it's amazing. And this actually goes back to me. It came back and it passed. My kids were very tired. This was at the end of the day. And JSA was at the front door. And I 100% could have left that show, but I said, nope, I'm going back onto the floor. I'm going to go find that dealer. I'm going to tell him that it passed and thank you very much. And he came over and I went over to him and he was smiling and he goes, I know what it said. I know what it said. I go, you're right. It passed. And it was great. We actually built a relationship. Like he does some local card shows and I 100% will go to his table the next show that I go to. So it's just own up to your mistakes. This guy was very confident, but I knew he put the confidence in me that if this was a mistake, he was going to give me my cash back.
So for the audience, LZ's telling a very calm, thought out story, but you didn't get to see the frantic text from LZ to me saying, Nick, I found this really rare card, this deceased player, and what should I do? And I think we
Yeah.
came up with that idea together. So I'm glad it
Yeah.
worked out, man.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, it did. Yep. All
Good
right,
stuff.
everybody.
Cool.
So that's it. There are plenty more etiquette stories, but those are a few. So, all right.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody.